The battlefield in Ukraine has been full of surprises, but what just happened near Pokrovsk is nothing short of astonishing. Russia launched what it believed would be a decisive armored assault, an attack meant to smash through Ukrainian defenses and finally seize one of the most important cities in Donetsk. But instead of victory, Russia's forces drove themselves directly into a carefully orchestrated ambush. Tanks, infantry fighting vehicles, motorcycles, and more than 100 soldiers, all swallowed up in a deadly HIMARS trap that obliterated the assault before it could even reach its target. The result? Another crushing failure in Russia's relentless yet futile attempts to capture Pokrovsk. For years, Pokrovsk has been in Russia's crosshairs. Strategically located in the Donetsk region, this city is far more than just another urban settlement. It is a fortress and a vital logistical hub, a place where roads and railways converge to supply Ukrainian defenders throughout the Donbass. To Ukraine, Pokrovsk is a lifeline. To Russia, it is a prize that could shift the balance of power in the east. And so, again and again, Russian commanders have hurled forces at it, hoping to break through. Each time they have failed, and each time Ukraine's defenders have proven that holding Pokrovsk is not just possible, it is inevitable. On August 28th, Russia made yet another attempt. A mechanized assault group advanced toward Pokrovsk, armored columns rumbling forward with the confidence that sheer firepower would carry them to victory. The plan was simple: overwhelm Ukraine's defenses, push deep, and seize ground that had long eluded the Kremlin. But as history has shown time and time again, what looks like overwhelming strength on paper often disintegrates when confronted by precision, preparation, and resolve. This time, Ukraine was ready. Members of the Ivan Franko Group, a reconnaissance unit embedded within Ukraine's 79th Air Assault Brigade, had been watching. Operating deep in the contested zone, they tracked the Russian column as it moved about 6 miles behind the front lines. 7 armored vehicles, including tanks and infantry fighting vehicles, moved with 100 soldiers, some bizarrely riding motorcycles. The logic was simple. Bikes could dodge drones, but in reality, they left soldiers exposed and vulnerable. The Ivan Franko Group knew what was coming, and they prepared the trap that would end the assault before it began. Here is where Ukraine's deadly precision came into play. The Ivan Franko Group coordinated with HIMARS operators, setting up a strike that would devastate the convoy. In a statement afterward, the group revealed that it had worked in lockstep with artillery teams to deliver devastating losses on the enemy's armored assault group. Those words proved to be no exaggeration. The first HIMARS strike slammed into the column while it was in motion. With pinpoint accuracy, the rockets struck their targets, unleashing explosions that tore through the lead vehicles and halted the advance. Confusion rippled through the Russian ranks as smoke and fire filled the sky. The convoy that had made it so far undetected was now trapped, immobilized, and exposed, and Ukraine was only getting started. With the Russians stalled, Ukrainian FPV drones descended on the survivors. These first-person view drones, piloted with lethal precision, tore into the remaining vehicles and troops. Direct hits ignited fireballs, destroying infantry fighting vehicles and turning motorcycles into little more than wreckage. Even those who survived the first strikes found themselves hunted, as drone after drone plunged into targets with unrelenting ferocity. When the drones had softened what was left of the column, a second HIMARS strike followed. This one was even more devastating, obliterating what remained of Russia's assault force. Soldiers who only moments earlier believed they were on the verge of a breakthrough instead found themselves in the middle of a slaughter. By the end, the entire armored column was destroyed. The scale of the losses is staggering. According to reports, every vehicle in the convoy was wiped out, with at least 50 of the 100 soldiers killed in the ambush. Others were wounded, and some may have fled, but the outcome was clear. The assault on Pokrovsk had been annihilated before it could even reach the front lines. Russia might have preferred to deny the defeat, but denial is impossible when video evidence emerges, and Ukraine made sure of that. Militarny published a 3-minute video of the ambush, showing exactly what happened. First came the aerial footage of the Russian column, vehicles rolling along the road in a formation that looked formidable from above. Then, in an instant, a massive HIMARS strike ripped through the lead vehicles, engulfing them in dust and fire. As the footage continued, FPV drones zeroed in on the surviving vehicles. One by one, they were destroyed, explosions caught from multiple drone perspectives. Finally, the second HIMARS strike obliterated the remnants. The video left no room for doubt. What the Ivan Franko Group reported is precisely what happened. Russia's armored assault was turned into ashes. But why HIMARS? Why was this American made rocket system chosen as the weapon of choice for this ambush? The answer lies in the very design of the system. The high mobility artillery rocket system, built by Lockheed Martin and mounted on a wheeled chassis developed by BAE Systems, is unique. It combines the destructive firepower of a multiple launch rocket system with the speed and mobility of a truck. HIMARS can move quickly, fire with deadly precision, and vanish before the enemy even has time to respond. Its range is formidable: 27 miles with standard munitions, over 40 miles with extended range rockets, and up to 186 miles with ATAC-EMS missiles. And perhaps most importantly, it can strike moving targets with pinpoint accuracy. When Russia launched its column toward Pokrovsk, HIMARS was the perfect weapon to strike fast, strike hard, and create chaos. The first salvo disrupted the column's movement. Drones picked apart survivors. The final salvo ended the fight entirely. No Russian counterstrike could follow, because by the time they realized what had happened, Ukraine's HIMARS units had already disappeared. This devastating ambush underscores a larger reality. Russia is running out of tanks and fast. At the beginning of the war, armored columns were supposed to be the backbone of Russia's advance, but more than 3 years later, they are little more than moving targets. According to Ukraine's Ministry of Finance, Russia has lost over 11,000 tanks since the invasion began. That's an average of more than 3,000 tanks per year, a pace that is simply unsustainable. Worse for Moscow, many of its reserve tanks are useless. Analysts report that of the thousands supposedly stored in reserve, only a small fraction are in combat-ready condition. The rest are either too old, too damaged, or fit only for spare parts. That's why attempts like the Pokrovsk assault stand out. They represent Russia desperately redeploying units, including some from the Kursk region, in a last-ditch effort to achieve results with dwindling resources. But tanks no longer dominate the battlefield the way they once did. As Western analysts note, Russia has failed to adopt modern combined arms tactics, leaving its tanks vulnerable to drones, missiles, and artillery. Ukraine's defenders have perfected these methods, ensuring that any attempt to push forward with armored columns will end in the same way: destruction. So, why does Russia keep trying? The answer lies in Pokrovsk itself. This city is more than just a fortress. It is a keystone of Ukraine's defense. Its roads and railways keep supplies moving throughout the Donetsk region. Its location makes it essential for holding the line against Russian advances. And for Moscow, capturing Pokrovsk would provide both symbolic and strategic gains. Russian state media has even branded the city the gateway to Donetsk. Seizing it would allow Russia to claim it had secured the Donetsk Oblast, strengthening its negotiating position in any potential peace talks. It would also open the door for further offensives towards cities like Chasiv Yar and even Dnipropetrovsk. In short, Pokrovsk is a prize that Russia craves but cannot grasp. The destruction of the armored column on August 28th proves a devastating truth for Russia. The old methods no longer work. Large mechanized assaults cannot survive in the face of Ukraine's precision artillery and drone swarms. Every attempt costs Russia dearly: lives lost, vehicles destroyed, and morale shattered. Reports indicate that Russia has already been forced to change tactics, shifting from large columns to small infiltration teams of 2 to 4 soldiers operating under drone surveillance. The days of massive armored pushes may be over. Yet, as the Pokrovsk ambush shows, some Russian units have not adapted, or perhaps are too desperate to care. Either way, the results are always the same: total failure. And that is the story of Russia's latest humiliation near Pokrovsk. 7 destroyed vehicles, over 50 soldiers killed, a convoy wiped out before it could even test Ukraine's defenses. And most importantly, the city still stands strong, its defenders proving yet again that Russian assaults cannot break through. Pokrovsk remains unconquered, Ukraine remains defiant, and Russia, despite throwing everything it has at this critical stronghold, is left with nothing but wreckage and shame.